But here's the uncomfortable truth, sweetie. We are the blueprint, not the afterthought. We are not just black. We are the descendants of the tribe of Judah, the royal priesthood you've tried to erase. And you know this, which is why your scientists study our DNA, your historians bury our truth, and your politicians silences our speech. You envy our melanin, our rhythm, our brilliance, so you commodify, crucify, and then cosplay it on TikTok. But guess what? You can't colonize the spirit, baby. Here's the inevitable reckoning truth, and the truth don't die, it rises. So here we are, sifting through your smoke screens, unearthing your stolen stories, and refusing to play nice with lies. You're not silenced, so stop it. You're sobered, and that sobering truth is this. You can't cancel us when we are the original signal, the source of the frequency, the soil from which God made humanity. You call us victims, but we are the verdict, and the jury is back. Your father is the father of all lies, but our father, he is the truth that exposes every single one. I need you to kindly exit stage left because your time on the mic is up. I truly hate giving these white supremacists any type of airtime, but this guy here is really getting on my nerves, this Charlie Kirk dude, so I have to give him a clap back for this video he posted.
Black people are allowed to talk about black culture in a way that white culture cannot. For example, black people can go up and say that there's a baby mama problem in black America, and white people are not allowed to say that. Oh, I just did, so what are you gonna do, cancel me? Black people are much easier to be able to say that black individuals, despite being 13% of the American population, commit 55% of the murders. Most white people say that at a job, they would get fired for being a racist. I don't care because I say whatever I want.
Oh, bless your little colonizer heart. You really climbed on the internet and opened your pale mouth and decided to rewrite history in real time like the rest of us haven't been wide awake. The audacity to claim black people have more intellectual freedom while simultaneously gaslighting the entire globe into believing your fragility is under attack. Now that's rich. Irony is so thick, and it might as well pay for reparations. But I'm going to reveal the lie and hypocrisy behind the Olympics that you just won the new gold medalist for. You say black people can talk about black issues, but white people can't. Well, sweetheart, when y'all own CNN, Fox, Time Magazine, Hollywood, Disney, and the banks, and every Ivy League endowment, maybe, just maybe, you can sit out for just one conversation. And while you're pretending to be gagged, your people are in every boardroom, courtroom, war room, media room, pushing propaganda like it's your birthright. If you're so silent, how come the world speaks your language, worships your whiteness, and mimics your mediocrity in music?
Grand Rising, brothers and sisters. How are you doing? I'm hoping that you are doing great from whatever you watch me from. Now, you probably know that for the longest time we have been told negative things about black people. Because according to the script that they wrote, black people were never supposed to be people who were great. Black people were never taught that one day they'll rise, that one day they'll become people who are great. And I think you've heard from some black scholars who have come to talk to people and told them that the thought of imagining that a black person can work and become great still makes white people mad, because they grew in a society where they're the ones who took up everything. They grew in a society where they believed that they are one of the best people to ever have. So growing up in a society which is dynamic and people are getting to understand why black Americans were meant to be great. And this is contrary to what majority of us have always been taught about we and our blackness as people. So it's really crazy that this is happening. I want to show you something. Dana, sorry. You show my bed. Okay, that is my grandma over there. She's cutting trees. Is it my bed? Show my bed. Rhetoric. And what can you Martin? I need to teach Martin. Sawa. So, as I was trying to tell you before, you know, just the thought that black people are great makes these people really sad, really mad. And, you might think that it's a joke until you watch those documentaries back in the 90s in how black people were perceived and how they believed and how they looked black people. Brothers and sisters, I want to let you watch the video, then I'll be back and, talk about this.
Fashion and culture. But I'm going to drop those receipts, the historical Holocaust y'all don't want us to talk about. Let's get into these statistics since you love to throw out black crime rates around like white folks aren't the original terrorists. Let's talk about genocide. 100+ million indigenous people murdered globally via colonization. And how about slavery? Over 12 million Africans stolen, tortured, sold as properties, built your banks, White House, legacy wealth. And what about these serial killers? Oh, you don't want to talk about that. Because statistically, over 76% of serial killers are in the U.S. are white. And how about school shooters? Yeah, those white boys, this is about 90% of them were school shooters, right? Oh, and let's not forget global extinction. Yeah, nearly every animal now endangered or extinct, white-led colonizers hunted for sport, fashion, and science? Yeah. And what about environmental destruction? You bulldozed the whole rainforests of this world, dumped oil in oceans, and then said climate change like it was a mystery. And let's not forget, you poisoned your own Europeans during the bubonic plague because y'all didn't believe in using soap. So before you speak on crime statistics, check the colonial body count. Yeah, I want to talk about this irony though. You all want to parent us now? You want to talk to us and talk down to us? You say black folks need to get their act together? Sir, y'all are the original baby's daddies, raping our women, selling our families, and now you're confused about single mothers? Your wives were sipping tea while your children suckled on the breast of black nannies. Did you forget? That's the origin of your wet nurse economy. You stole our families and then had the nerve to blame us for the fracture. That's like robbing a man and breaking his legs and then calling him lazy for limping. And don't come for our music, our art, and our soul. You manufactured the whole hedonism and handed the record deals to those willing to sell their souls for the culture you corrupted. Yeah, you say our rappers don't challenge the rot? You own the labels, genius. But I'm going to connect those dots from the plantation to the Pentagon, baby. See, it wasn't just slavery. It was the war on drugs, the FBI's COINTELPRO, the Tuskegee experiment, redlining, predatory loans, prison labor, Black Wall Street bombings, and forced sterilization. Oh, did you forget that? You all orchestrated the problem, blamed the victim, and then handed out Band-Aids and made that BS, okay? Even your DEI talking points are laughable. White women are the primary beneficiaries of affirmative actions. Did you hear that right? You parade black faces for photo shoots, the poster child, while your HR departments remain whiter than sour cream. We see. But here's the uncomfortable truth, sweetie. We are the blueprint, not the afterthought. We are not just black. We are the descendants of the tribe of Judah, the royal priesthood you've tried to erase. And you know this, which is why your scientists study our DNA, your historians bury our truth, and your politicians silences our speech. You envy our melanin, our rhythm, our brilliance. So you commodify, crucify, and then cosplay it on TikTok. But guess what? You can't colonize the spirit, baby. Here's the inevitable reckoning truth, and the truth don't die, it rises. So here we are, sifting through your smoke screens, unearthing your stolen stories, and refusing to play nice with lies. You're not silenced, so stop it. You're sobered, and that sobering truth is this. You can't cancel us when we are the original signal, the source of the frequency, the soil from which God made humanity. You call us victims, but we are the verdict, and the jury is back. Your father is the father of all lies, but our father, he is the truth that exposes every single one. I need you to kindly exit stage left because your time on the mic is up.
It is the presence of black people with ambition. The presence of black people with drive. The presence of black people with aspirations. The presence of black people who achieve. It's the presence of black people who refuse to accept their subjugation. The presence of black people who demand their rights. That's the trigger for white rage. And this society has therefore punished black resilience and black resolve. White rage is not about visible violence, but white rage is subtle. It is corrosive. It operates through the state legislatures, through Congress, through the judiciary, through school boards. It cloaks itself in legalities. Because it's so quiet, it's so subtle, you don't see. And so I set out to blow graphite onto that fingerprint, to be able to trace white rage throughout time to 2016. And one of the things that became clear to me as I started thinking through how white rage works, it became clear to me that the presence of black people was not the trigger for white rage. It is the presence of black people with ambition. The presence of black people with drive. The presence of black people with aspirations. The presence of black people who achieve. It's the presence of black people who refuse to accept their subjugation. The presence of black people who demand their rights. That's the trigger for white rage. And this society has therefore punished black resilience and black resolve.
Being black and upper class has in no way been a persecution for me. It has, however, been a front row seat to a kind of white rage that affects everyone, no matter what social, racial category you slot into in society. This rage flies under the radar, it's made invisible, it's been around for a long time, it runs on the same economic, political playbook that it has since the end of the Civil War, and it's hurting all of you. All of you. Unless you're Jeff Bezos. But that's not you. A very small example of this is a couple of years back, I was all dressed up with black and white cousins. We're all dressed up. There's a good group of us, maybe 12, and we're going to the symphony. This symphony is it's manned by tons of volunteers, right? People who want to help you, people who are excited to see young people come to the symphony. And we get there and I've got my 8 or 9 tickets all connected. And this older white woman, member of my community, is doing the scanning. I can tell from the get-go, she doesn't really want to help me. She's peeved. And I'm thinking, why? I've got this huge group of people coming in. Like, this is a win for the local community symphony. So she scans all my tickets, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She gets to the 8th or 9th one. I don't remember how many exactly we had. It doesn't beep. Now, mind you, I had to pick up these tickets at will call with an ID, with my name. And she knows this because she's a volunteer before I come to her. She scans the last ticket that has the symphony's name on it. I mean, it's got all the official stuff. And she explodes with this quiet anger and this total frustration. Like, she's just like, she knew it. She knew I was a thief. And she loudly, in front of everybody, accuses me basically of stealing a ticket and attaching it to the legitimate tickets, which is how you should do crime. Now, that's a ridiculous thing. We sorted it out. We found out that yes, while she was following the rules as to what to do if I guess a thief comes and attaches a fake ticket to a bunch of real tickets, she did not know how to use her scanner properly. But instead of having customer service, instead of thinking about how one should approach this, she responded with the anger that was already inside of her. She'd already assumed and knew that this kind of place was not for people like us. and she didn't want to have to let us in. And if she could get us out on a technicality, on a quiet rule, and she threw up her hands, I can't help you, I can't do anything, she would. That is a very tiny, low stakes example of the work Carol Anderson, as a historian, has done in looking at the documented and demonstrated examples of rulemaking and code making that certain people in higher classes have used to quietly make sure that lower class whites and Black people with wealth cannot get ahead. When Carol Anderson decided to write White Rage, it had come after she'd been asked for the Washington Post to write an op-ed in the wake of August 2014 when the Black Lives Matter riots were exploding. Her critique was that we were looking at Black rage. We were looking at physical anger, destruction of property, all those different things. And she was making it very clear in that first essay and then in her book that you can't understand this rage unless you understand the other kind of rage. That's the rage that uses your political power, your legal power, to write laws and little caveats into things to make sure that you undermine the wealth of people believed to be Black, and you make sure that people who are believed to be white, who are in lower classes, never politically come together with those people. Now, who does that cost? It costs the democracy, and it costs all sorts of other classes that aren't in the ruling class. Because what they're doing is you're undermining, as she shows in her book, you're undermining voting rights. You're undermining this ability for the lower classes to look at each other and go, hey, our taxes should be going toward X, Y, and Z. Carol's research, I should say Miss Anderson's research, is an invitation to look at the kind of responses that have legally always existed to the advancement of Black people or the advancement of lower classes coming together and saying, this is how we would like to be treated. She's making it clear that if we don't look at the playbook, we're going to miss it in today's age. It's not something that happened back then. It's something that's happening now. We're going to be looking at this work because there's going to come a point in time when you are trying to rightfully access something that is yours, and you're going to be told that if it is given to you or if you want it, it's probably because you stole it or you shouldn't have it. As a historian, she's making these brilliant connections about how this is an assault on Black middle class, but then you can go out and see it's also the middle class as a whole. It's really important that we contextually understand our history because we're all bound up together, and all of our lives and our pursuit of happiness and liberty, it's connected. And there are reasons that people don't want you to understand that because you become dangerous when you know that. You're less of a victim and you're more of a threat. So I'm excited to read this book. If you've read this book, if you finished it, if you know of any other things of Carol Anderson's that you just really particularly want to look at, please write in the comments.
So I had some white colleagues ask me what I thought about Trump actually segregating whites and Blacks. And I actually told them straight up, like, honestly, I would love that. Now, they looked at me like I was crazy, and they almost spit up their almond milk, and I think they thought that maybe I was saying that out of hatred, but it really isn't about hatred. Here's the thing. I'm not talking about their version of segregation. See, I'm talking about our version of righteous separation, spiritual sovereignty, and Black sufficiency. See, the truth of it is that integration was never about freedom. It was finesse. It was a system's way of saying, let's stop them from succeeding independently so we can profit from their brilliance directly. It was about control. And so I want us to be very clear about this. You know, we were never separate but equal. So that's a lie. We were separate and excelling. We had our own schools. We had our own banks. We had our own businesses. And baby, we were thriving. Black Wall Street, they burned it. Rosewood, they bombed it. Wilmington, they overthrew it. Why? Because we were doing too well without them, and they couldn't handle that. And so that's the truth. They didn't really want segregation gone. They wanted control. This is why we know that integration was just repackage of chains. when we were separate, we actually were building and excelling. And when they saw that we could excel without them, then it was like, oh no, we got to take control and make sure that their labor is profiting us. So right around that time, they rolled out this whole standardized testing, ACT and SAT. Y'all remember that? They created this IQ ranking to measure their norms, not our brilliance. And then we were said we were behind when we really weren't. We were just building our own lane, not asking for theirs. See, I don't know about you all, but I'm kind of tired of the lies. It's very exhausting, you know, just the lies that continue to be promoted. And I want to talk about the melanin, because this whole thing that we're not smart enough, that we're not bright enough, is simply just a lie. And so, you know, all this testing that they're doing, and I have kids in school, and they're made to feel that they cannot achieve. And I have to remind them about their actual superpower, melanin. See, not just your skin tone, but in your brain, specifically neuromelanin, that rich dark pigment found in areas like the substantia nigra, which are critical for learning and memory and decision making and emotional regulation. See, if you don't know, then you won't know how to respond. But when you learn about the studies that have actually linked the neuromelanin to higher concentrations and how it's related to enhanced memory and processing and higher intelligence and faster reaction times, then you know why they have hidden this information for so long. Because when you have higher melanin, you have stronger brain resilience against degenerative diseases. So translation to that is melanin doesn't just make you glow, it makes you grow. So we know that it's not coincidental that people with more melanin have historically been creators, inventors, innovators across every discipline, while also being the most suppressed, because they know that the more melanin you have in your body and in your brain actually produces higher intelligence. So the Bible also says this too in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verses 7. It says he placed treasures in earthen vessels. What treasures? It was in us all along, right? So we have more melanin, and we know that people with less melanin, because it's a recessive gene and it's a mutation, lack the same level of intelligence, of many different benefits that come along with that. What's so interesting about it is that we're supposed to be looking at this as if it's something negative. But why is it negative when every other cultural group does this? Group economics. See, the truth of the matter is they have stolen from us so many different things, and yet we still survive. And so I don't want to offend, but I have to be blunt here. When we invented it, they patented it. When we built it, they banked on it. So everything we created, they made sure they benefited off of it. Just like Louis Latimer, he actually developed the light bulb, but Edison got all the glory for it. And this has been going on through history. We know that Granville T. Woods laid the foundation for trains. Corporations got the contracts. Dr. Patricia Bath revolutionized eye surgery. The system licensed the tech. Black music became white record labels, billion-dollar industries off of our talent. Every time we create, they capitalize. We are the genius, but they control the royalties. It's quite interesting, isn't it? So when we talk about the facts and segregation, I want to be very clear. It's not racist. We have to understand the dynamics of this. See, the black dollar actually is the fastest running dollar in America. So let's do the math here. And I think it's quite funny. Black people have spending power over 1.6 trillion. But guess what? That dollar stays in our community just for 6 hours. While the white community, their dollar stays in their community 17 days. And guess what? Asian communities, it stays in their community 20 days. Jewish communities over 3 weeks. Why? Because we're systemically disarmed from owning what we build. And this is no coinky dink. The scripture said this would happen. So now our dollar does the labor, but the system collects the check. And this is why I support segregation on our own terms. See, that 400 years of slavery is over. And when I say that I want us to be segregated, I don't mean oppressed. I mean organize. Let's build black banks again. Let's educate our babies on the truth, not whitewashed lies. And let's support black farmers, black techs, black healing, black brilliance. And no, it doesn't mean I hate white people. No, it means I finally love us enough to stop begging for scraps from a table we built but never welcomed to. See, the Bible told us about this, yet we hop, skip, and jump over the fact that Deuteronomy 28, 43, and 44 already said it. It says, the stranger shall rise above you high, and you shall come down low. They shall lend to you, but you shall not lend to them. And this is exactly what has been happening for 400 years plus years. We built houses, businesses, schools, and they took them and taxed them to death. But beloved, there's hope, because Deuteronomy 30:3 also says, and Yah will turn your captivity and have compassion upon you, and will return and gather you from all nations. So yes, I welcome segregation, because restoration is already in motion. And I want y'all to understand this. We are not asking for more. We're building. See, we were never given anything from you all. I'm not asking to sit at somebody's table anymore. See, I'm trying to go along with scripture and build my people, gather my people, not because they are more melanated, but because we need to know that we serve the Most High and that He's going to take care of us, because separation was never our curse. It was our covenant. And now it's our strategy. It says to come out from among them, be ye separated. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17. So this isn't about racism. It's about us reclaiming what is already ours.
Do y'all know that the racial wealth gap is continuing to increase, with white households owning 10 times more wealth than black households? In 2022, the median wealth of a white household was 1.3 million, while in a black household is about 200K. As black people, we have conquered the education phase, being the most educated. But what are we going to do to close in this wealth gap? Our ancestors will be proud that we got the knowledge, but now we got to get the money. We got to own this. We got to own some stuff. I believe that should be the next plan for black people, or this wealth gap is going to continue to get bigger.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are definitely doing great from, wherever you're watching me from. Now, as I said, black people, they never thought that black people will one day rise. Black people will one day take up spaces that they're seeing happening right now. And they know very well from its inception, they knew very well that black people were meant to be great. And why am I saying so? They were meant to be great because they first started with taking away what belonged to black people. They first started doing all these things. Saure. Achio maber banain. Oh, matinto. So, as I said earlier, it became so much difficult for them to, understand why are black people still coming out great, even though we are taking everything that belongs to them. You see, when you demolish someone, you put them down, and you think that they are just done. But then you see them still trying to compete with you. And then you still see them beating you in things that you have had a lot of head start more than them. And then that tells you how these people are great. And all what they're doing, they're just confirming that they are great people. So this is a perfect case scenario of, Black Americans and white Americans. Majority of white Americans had a lot of head start, and they knew the best possible way of doing this, because first they started by taking all good things that belonged to, to Black people. They erased. But still, when they just thought that Black Americans are done, it all turned out to be great. It all turned out to be good for Black people. So this is something that they still do not believe, that we can have Black people that can still stand and fight and still become people who they never thought that they will be. And this is a perfect case scenario of Black Americans, right? These are people that a lot has been taken from them, but they still have a fight left in them. And that tells you why Black people will still remain to be great. After so many years of, erasure, after so many years of teaching people negative stuff about Black people, after so many years of taking what belonged to Black people, after so many years of benefiting from the labor, from benefiting from the Black talent, right? And using Black people to promote their own stuff, Black people are still showing them that we are here to stay. And that's a proof that tells you competing with a Black American is a losing game. Honestly, it's a losing game. Because at some point, it feels like it is Black American against immigrants, against Asians, against Indians, against white people. Black Americans will still remain at the top and at the center of everything, because they run, they make moves. They're the blueprint, right? They are the chosen ones. So in as much as how many or in what magnitude you will do this, Black people will still thrive. Black people will still come out to be great. Black people will still tell you that do whatever you can do, but they still can start and win and finish with you. So all these things, white people started learning that in as much as they are trying to do this to Black people kept winning. Black people kept winning. In as much as they tried to suppress all these things, but we still saw Black people winning. Black people became great. And that's how it happened, right? You understand. They tried so much. They didn't believe that one day Black people will come out and still win. But we are still seeing Black people in the top of the charts. When you look at music, talent, when we look at Black American culture, which is still used by different races, with a lot of races, people want the Black American culture like it's on demand, right? But at the end of the day, this all shows you, this all proves you what power the Black Americans have, the greatness that they have, the magnitude to do all these things, that these are the groups, it's not easy for them to do. That tells you what I've been trying to, tell you. So this is what is happening. Black American will remain to be one of the greatest people that God has ever created. I'm not saying this to make them happy, but I'm saying this to show how they have become so much resilient over all these years, the years that they have been segregated, the years that people tried to sabotage one of the greatest things that they ever do. People destroyed Black businesses, Black farms, Black places. They drowned families and all these things that happened to Black people. But still, they decided that we are not going to be dead. They're still giving a fight. And they are showing you that we are here. And this is what you need to understand. Black folks, they're the most resilient people I've ever seen, because they are showing you, do whatever you can, but I'll still come back and beat you, even with the head start that you have. And they've proven this. Look at those 400 years of, look at the 400 years of head start that these white communities had. But hey, look, in as much as there's still inequality and wealth gap, but you have seen how black people have really tried to become great people. They have really tried to cover all these things, you know, that have happened. And that showed you that do whatever you can, or do whatever you want to do, but I'll still come and beat you. So that's a perfect example of a black person. And now that they're seeing all this black progress, they still can't believe. They still can't believe that blacks are winning. Saudi, can you? They still can't believe that black Americans are winning. They still can't believe that black people still have something great to give. And that the ones, their names, their voices is being heard today. That's why everyone wants a piece of black American. They need black American voices. They need, where a black person is, a black person is needed. And that's black American. So for the longest time, this is what has been happening. But they can't tell you that without black people, it becomes so much problematic to them. Remember when we had this time when we had this group of white people that were saying that they are used to living with black Americans, to the extent that if they were segregated, they wouldn't have, you know, they wouldn't feel good because they're used to having black Americans close to them. So this tells you that everyone wants a piece of black Americans. So please let me know what you think about this video. I'm your host and presenter Agentic Stories. I'm hoping to see you in my next video. But until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.